is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
All right, we are back on the 3-mall bonus after a couple weeks off. Back with Curry Sexton, former Kansas State wide receiver, partner at Wildcat NIL. Here to talk K-State football, look ahead to the bowl game against North Carolina State and the Pop-Tarts Bowl in Orlando, played on December 28th. Here to talk a little bit Wildcat NIL. Transfer portal, recruiting updates, signing day. We're recording this on Wednesday, December 20th. It was National Signing Day today. K-State signs a 15-member recruiting class. They're still hitting the transfer portal pretty hard as they try to fill a few holes after they had around 15 scholarship guys move on, many of them mutual decisions. So we'll talk all of that here on the 3-mall bonus edition and also break down the bowl game a little bit. But it is good to have Curry back. I was just joking with Curry off air. We probably blow up his phone, texting him a million times a night. We are frequently blowing him up, texting about recruiting, transfer portal, all sorts of things. So appreciate the heck out of Curry. And before we really dive into football talk specifically, I want to talk about Wildcat NIL because, Curry, you're too humble to admit this, but I know that you guys, Pearson, Ryan, and others are working your rear ends off at Wildcat NIL and all the work that goes into what you are doing nonstop. You have regular jobs and you're doing that on the side. And it's such a huge piece for Kansas State athletics and the importance of it, especially right now, this time of year. You've got player retention, you got guys entering the portal all over the country, transferring out, and NIL is such a huge retention tool when it comes to, retaining your own players, keeping your own roster together. This coaches right now in these 3 or 4 weeks have to re-recruit their own roster. They have to recruit a signing day class. It is absolute chaos. And NIL is one of those tools that really helps alleviate some of those pressures and helps take care of your own. And so, Curry, maybe you could just speak to that. I'll give you the floor and let you just talk about the importance of NIL and everything that's going on nowadays with the transfer portal and whatnot.
Yeah, of course. And I think from a fan's perspective, I think the perception over the last few weeks has been that NIL has impacted our roster. And although that may not completely be the case, I do think, yes, it has, and it will more going forward. I talked to Coach Kleiman and some other people on his staff right after the season, and one of the comments that was made to me was, typically you finish your regular season and you kind of take a breather and then really dive right into pre-signing day recruiting and also then shift some focus to bowl prep. But he said, but now the day after that last regular season game, you are fully focused on retaining your current roster. And so I know that, the last few weeks have been really stressful for our football staff because they're trying to finish off a signing day class. They're trying to get, recruit portal guys, and they're trying to keep key guys on the roster and get some of those key super seniors to come back. And so it's been I know it's been a whirlwind for them. And I obviously I have, I have a part in this, but NIL I would say is the singular most important factor right now. We have good facilities. We have a great culture. We're a winning football program with the opportunity to be even more successful going forward. The one piece that we haven't yet figured out is NIL. And I think the last few weeks have maybe sped up the collective approach as it relates to NIL. I can assure you that Coach Kleiman is fully on board with NIL now. I can assure you that Gene Taylor is very much on board with NIL now. People now really, really understand that the way that you build rosters and keep rosters intact is through NIL. And we have to make sure that we're competitive in that space or we're not going to be competitive on the playing field.
It was just late last week, and I had texted you the quote from Chris Kleiman, and I'm sure you had already seen it before I texted it to you, but he talked about how they were really embracing NIL, to your point, Curry, as a coaching staff, kind of a 180. Not that they were completely against NIL, but now they are fully on board, support it, promoting it. We've had Gene Taylor on the pod several different times as well, and he's always talked, we're not against NIL in any way, but also keep donating to the Aaron Fund, keep donating those operational dollars. They're important as well. But I think everybody now recognizes that NIL is an equally important tool. And one of the advantages K-State has, to your point, is a lot of those facility renovations, a lot of those revenue generating projects, like all of the suites and Bill Snyder Family Stadium, are built and they're going to produce revenue. And there's not a lot of projects right now that need to be done. So donations, dollars, that can go more so toward NIL and Wildcat NIL and the collective and taking care of this Kansas State roster in all sports. It's not just men's basketball. It's not just football. Look at what this women's basketball team is doing right now. Borderline top 10 team in the country, some absolute star power on that team. The volleyball team did a lot of great things this year with all the top 25 wins that they had. And so, Wildcat NIL plays a part in helping to retain, those rosters. And so encourage everybody to go donate. The coaching staff, they're bought in. Go to catsnil.com. Check out the membership program. You guys also do so many cool different things with businesses, and some of the partnerships and what the coffee deal that you guys did, the Project Runway with the women's basketball team recently, Curry, and then the Manhattan Brewing NIL beer. I mean, anything else you want to hit on just in regards to some of the cool business partnerships you guys are doing and where fans could maybe buy and support NIL outside of just signing up for the membership program?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of different ways. We have our Wildcat NIL debit cards through Western National Bank. You can go to wildcatnilchecking.com and sign up for one of those. 10 cents on every swipe comes back to us. The coffee you just mentioned, nilcoffeeclub.com/wildcatnil. You can go there, buy a coffee roast, and 20% of the proceeds come back to us. We've got Stash Elite. If you go to StashElite.com and sign up, you can round up on everyday credit card purchases, money to come back to us. We have the Manhattan Brewing Company, the Wabash Easy Drinking Ale. A certain amount of the proceeds from that, from the sales of that beer, are going to come back to us. So a lot of ways that we're trying to tap into different streams of revenue other than just simply asking for donations. Got some other cool stuff coming down the runway here. Actually, the Purple Runway with women's basketball, we actually moved that to February 2nd. So we didn't have to negotiate with the holidays and the end of football season. And so really excited about that, and that being a big money raiser for our women's basketball team. And then we have the March 4th event in Kansas City with Coach Kleiman and Coach Leipold, which is going to be a really, really fun event. Really big time event, the first of its kind, really. So again, trying to find ways to tap into different streams of revenue without just asking for someone to give money. And I will say, to add to the earlier points, you can look at NIL versus Ahern in terms of chicken or the egg. I think a lot of people do. What is more important? And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer there. I will say this though, we need Ahern Fund to fund scholarships, to fund operations, coaching salaries, etc. But we won't be able to retain good coaches if we don't have good NIL infrastructure. That is not intended to be a fear tactic. That is 100% the truth. Coaches these days are going to value NIL infrastructure as much as they are support staff, recruiting staff, graphic designers, etc. They don't want to be up at night thinking about, do we have enough NIL money to keep a roster intact or to win on a key guy. And so I mean that completely. If you're looking for a way to support these coaches, you can also do that through NIL. And if Coach Tang or Coach Kleiman were on here right now, I know that they would stand behind that comment wholeheartedly. So just something to keep in mind. I know some people look at NIL and they say, well, that's not really supporting the coaches or these programs that I've supported for so long. It really is. And so I would just encourage people to keep that in mind.
It's an interesting point. It's a great point. I think about, obviously, it's a big deal to Jerome Tang as well. I mean, he approached you guys about the Wildcat NIL golf tournament at Colbert Hills when we went out and did the live shows. You guys did that awesome setup and did that. We knew it was important to him and the coaching staff. Makes life a lot easier for him. I could just give you an example from somewhere else in the country, Curry. Mick Cronin, UCLA men's basketball coach, he has been bickering about the lack of support at NIL at UCLA, a school like that with all the money, and he is frustrated. And I would not be surprised if UCLA loses Mick Cronin, a guy that took him to the national championship, the Final Four, just 2 or 3 years ago. So, that's just an example of, coaches getting frustrated if they don't have the NIL infrastructure in place, because it alleviates a lot of the stresses that they don't want to have to necessarily worry and deal with.
Yeah. So. And just to underscore, how much Coach Tang values NIL, obviously we're filming this on Wednesday night, December 20th, and basketball plays tomorrow night in Kansas City. The basketball team is in Kansas City. They had shoot around this evening. Coach Tang, Coach Dowling, Coach Malagy, and Coach Carpenter all left shoot around right when it finished, and they drove to the plaza to an NIL event that we were hosting at Pulcinelli Law Firm down on the plaza, and they drove straight there to be with that crowd of people, that crowd of K-State fans, to stress the importance of NIL. And so this is something that, despite how important their schedules are during the season, they're still committing time and energy to NIL. And so if that doesn't explain how important it is, I don't know what will.
I also believe Curry, and don't hold me to this, but I believe Coach Tang and staff met with some NIL folks back before the Big 12 tournament last year in Kansas City, and went out just the night before they played TCU in the Big 12 tournament to talk about it to some key folks. So it is clearly of the utmost importance. And, we talk about you wanting to keep good coaches like Chris Kleiman, Jerome Tang, Jeff Mitty, and others, Coach Mansfield, the volleyball team, et cetera. Support Wildcat NIL. Go to catsnil.com. Check it out. Check out the membership program. Support the businesses that are partnering with Wildcat NIL. So many cool things. And I'm just telling you, I don't know how Curry and the guys get it done. Like, between their day jobs and this, you guys are so incredibly busy, and I don't help things when I'm texting you 50,000 times a day. So anyways, hey, speaking of supporting others as well, we got to tell you about our friends at Home Field Apparel. As always, get on out to homefieldapparel.com. Supporters of 3 Mall, supporters of KCSN. Check them out. Over 40 K-State items on their website at homefieldapparel.com. You can score 15% off with the discount code 3MAW23 when you go to checkout. Perfect gear if you're looking for a last-minute Christmas idea, or just looking to stock up for the rest of basketball season, upcoming football season next year, get your stuff for the bowl game, etc. Retro logos, retro gear. They've got it all at homefieldapparel.com. Discount code 3MAW23. Go support them as well. We appreciate Home Field Apparel. We'll be back from break here with Curry and talk a little bit more K-State football.
Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network. KC Sports Network.
All right, Curry. So Pop-Tarts Bowl, we're recording this on Wednesday, December 20th. We're 8 days out. When the time this releases, we'll probably be 4 or 5 days out from kickoff of that game. But not specific to the opponent of North Carolina State, just to tee things up. What are you most looking forward to and seeing in this bowl game?
A lot of things, honestly. I think some people are show a little disfavor with the current state of the bowl system, just because of the opt-outs and transfers and things of that nature. I tend to look at it, from the other side. I think that the fact that you get to basically let your young guys audition for the next year, I think that makes this more exciting than it otherwise might be. So I'm excited to see some of our young guys. I'm excited to see Avery in his first start. I think everybody is really looking forward to that. I'm excited to see some other young guys step up and be featured. Maybe some Trey Spivey, Garrett Oakley in a more prominent role. Jace Brown, obviously. I think Joe Jackson is going to get some more run next week. So and then some other key guys on defense as well. So really excited about the youth movement that we're going to see in a week or so. I think traditionally you go through this bowl game, your seniors depart, your transfers depart, and then you have to wait till April, till spring practice or a spring game, whatever it might be, to have any idea what the team is looking like. This gives you an early preview of what next year could look like, obviously with some more additions to come. So excited about that. Excited to see Connor Riley in this role. Obviously, we know he's auditioning for the full-time OC position, so excited to see what kind of offense he puts on the field. And then ultimately just excited to see, excited to see how we compete, given that we've lost starting quarterback, starting tight end, backup running back, starting safety. I mean, we've lost some key guys, starting defensive end. And so I'm excited to see some guys step up and take advantage of an opportunity.
This probably sounds weird, Curry. I was talking to somebody earlier today actually about this, and I think I told him I might be a little bit more excited about this bowl game than I even was watching the Sugar Bowl. Now, the Sugar Bowl was a really cool opportunity because you're playing Alabama and it's a New Year's Six bowl, right? And I was excited about it, but I am even more excited because of the opportunity to watch so many young guys and with their futures in this game. You want to win the game. I mean, we all want to feel great going out. You want to play well, but I really want to see some of these young guys flash. And that's what I'm excited. It's not just Avery Johnson, like you said. It's Joe Jackson, who they're going to have to rely on heavily in the running back room next year as the number 2 guy, probably behind DJ Giddens, unless somebody new pops in the portal and they take another running back. We haven't seen much of Joe Jackson. He's been banged up some this year, true freshman. Trey Spivey, we know they love him. Look, we've already seen enough of Jace Brown. We can tell he's going to be a really good player, Garrett Oakley, et cetera. But then also on the defensive side of the football, a Jordan Allen, a Chidi Obiizor, seeing a few more snaps for guys like that. Maybe a Kenigel Thomas at corner as Will Lee opted out or transferred to Texas A&M. So just all of those different guys, like the opportunity to see them is really exciting for me. And it's going to be, specific to the opponent. I'm eager to see them because they're playing a really good defense. We look at like this offensive star power, and it's great that you have your whole offensive line back, and we'll talk about that in a minute too. But, just a new offensive coordinator and Connor Riley calling plays against a top 20 defense, really a top 15 defense each of the last 3 years in college football, a Dave Doran coach defense. They're traditionally good year in and year out. I'm eager to see how Avery Johnson and this offense does against a good defensive mind and a good defensive unit in North Carolina State.
Absolutely. And a team that we've not matched up with before, at least not in recent memory. A good football team, a team that's ranked in the top 20. I mean, there's a lot of exciting things about this matchup. And you're right, their defense has been incredibly strong this year. Now, obviously, they'll be without Peyton Wilson. They've got a couple key guys who won't be playing in this game as well. But you're right, this is a really exciting matchup. I think it's a pretty even matchup across the board. And so it'll be interesting to see how things have developed since the last games of the year. And I think that's one of the exciting things about bowl season. You can throw basically everything, that, especially in the portal era, but you can throw everything out the window as to what's happened this season. And you don't have no idea what to expect when that game starts next week. And so I just hope that the Cats are ready and that the young guys are ready and that they take advantage of a really good opportunity.
We just talked about so many of these skill guys potentially getting an opportunity to play more in this bowl game. But what do you make of having the entire offensive line not opting out? KT, Cooper, BB, they're all staying in. They're going to play in this bowl game. What's the significance of that? And do you like that? Obviously, like we just talked about, the excitement of seeing some of these younger guys play. But you do have Avery Johnson making his first true start against a really good defense in North Carolina State. Just how important is it to have that starting 5 that's been up front all year together, cohesive unit in this bowl game to at least take some of the pressure off of Avery?
Yeah, I think it's huge, and I think it's I'm just stoked for them to have that last run together. I know it's been a special unit, and they've all meant a lot to each other and to the program. So I'm excited that they decided to do this last game together. And I think it's obviously huge for Avery, for him to be back there in his first game with the new play caller, to have that solid front up in front of him is going to provide him with a lot of assurances. At the same time, I do hope that they throw some of the young guys in there. I hope we get to see a John Pastore, and I hope we get to see an Andrew Linegang. Maybe just to give him a little bit of game action with Avery back there and start to build that camaraderie for next year. But I don't think you can understate how important it is that we're having that entire unit back for this bowl game.
Yeah, I would completely agree with you. I think I'd mentioned to John and DY a while back, I'd like to see John Pastore get a few snaps in this game. Nothing due to injury, just rotate him in, Andrew Linegang and others, because they're going to be so reliant on those guys looking ahead to the 2024 season and want to see what those guys can give you, especially. So I guess while we're on the topic of the bowl game, I mean, we'll get to the transfer stuff and signing day today here in just a minute, but do you have a prediction on the bowl, Curry? I know things are hard to predict. I think K-State, just to give you some context, K-State is still favored by 2.5 points in this game. It's so hard because, Peyton Wilson's in all likelihood opting out, like you said, the Chuck Bednarik Award winner for National Defensive Player of the Year in college football, really talented linebacker for NC State. Probably not going to play in this bowl game. K-State's had several guys that have opted out, and bowls are just so unpredictable. But I'm curious what maybe you have for a prediction in this one.
Yeah, I think the Cats win by a touchdown, and I've felt that since the matchup was announced, and obviously a lot has changed, but I feel good about it. I think Avery is going to take, he's going to take advantage of the moment. I think he's going to seize the opportunity, and beyond beyond the loss of Will Howard and maybe Ben Sinnott, I don't think we've lost a ton. I don't think there's going to be a lot of drop off from one guy to the next. And so I think we're going to have a strong football team out there next week. So I think we opened at 7.5-point favorites, and obviously the line shrunk as Sinnott opted out, Ward left, Howard left, we had some key guys leave, but I feel really good about it. I think the Cats win by 7 to 10 points.
What would you like to see for a game plan for Avery Johnson in this game? More of a drop back passing game?
Not necessarily drop back passing, but first and foremost, do not make Avery Johnson a Colin Klein type quarterback. He's not a Colin Klein type quarterback. For one, he's about 40 pounds lighter, 50 pounds lighter, and he's an absolute, he's got a very, very good ability to throw the football. So I think, yeah, absolutely. Let him drop back and throw the football around the yard. Let him build some camaraderie with all those guys he's going to have coming back next year. Sprint them out, roll them out, whether it's in bootleg or just straight rollouts. I think get him on the move. Let him throw on the move where there's an option to run. But I would avoid QB power. This is a guy that you're trying to build the future around, and I think it's been well reported that Avery doesn't want to be a battering ram. He doesn't want to be the next in a line of K-State quarterbacks with shoulder and knee injuries. So let him throw the football because he's very talented and he can get the job done in the air. And let DJ Giddens and Joe Jackson and some of these workhorses, let them carry the load in terms of running the rock. But I'm excited to see Avery throw the ball. I hope he throws the ball 35 times and really shows off what he can do with his arm, because I think just because of how we used him this year, I think a lot of people just put him in the same mold as a Daniel Sams or an L. Roberson, more of an option quarterback, a running quarterback, but he's not. I mean, he is a true dual threat, and I hope they let him showcase his arm.
Yeah, I think that's what we've all wanted to see all year, is give him an opportunity, take the training wheels off, so to speak, let him cut it loose, because we know he's such an incredibly mature guy for his age. I think he's ready to go, especially after all this time in the program, these bowl practices and everything. I can't wait to see him. And man, Curry, what a tumultuous few weeks we went through. I just remember John and I were, you talked about Connor Riley, offensive coordinator for this bowl game, and in all likelihood, probably the favorite to be the permanent OC. John and I were driving to the Villanova game, pulling into the parking lot for men's basketball on December 5th. I think it was the 5th. And I just remember John saying, "Did you see this? Colin Klein got offered the OC job." I wasn't worried at all. And then I got a text from you like within 5 minutes. It's like, "I think we're worried about this one." And then John got a text from somebody else that we're pretty worried about it and the A&M job. The roller coaster of emotions, I think the sheer panic was, all right, Colin's gone. Avery very well could be gone. I mean, just the simple fact that it seems to be that they've kept Avery in the fold. Maybe just touch on the significance of that and maybe the doomsday scenarios we were going through in our head that night and that 24 hours, the significance of keeping Avery at the very least, and how you feel about the program moving forward, just with at least having him at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, it's massive. I mean, he's probably the single most important recruit we've ever had in school history, and they're clearly building the future of the program around him. And so obviously him staying put was a massive weight off everybody's shoulders. Losing Colin Klein is a big loss. He's been vital to this program for so long. But I think that losing Avery Johnson would have been a bigger loss. And so to keep Avery, I think, speaks to where the program is really at, or in a really good shape still. I think these guys still very much believe in Coach Kleiman and his program and his culture. And I think Avery is a smart kid. He's a very grounded kid, a very mature kid. I think he understands that, okay, Colin Klein left, and sure, I had a great relationship there and he recruited me, but guys, this whole thing is setting up for me to really take advantage of it and be the guy here. And he saw that, and he knew that rather than taking a chance somewhere else, let's just stay where we're at and stay where we know we've got a great opportunity. And so I think Avery's excited about it. I know his family's excited about it. And I think he's going to be a perfect face of the program type of kid for years to come. And I'm just really excited to see how he develops.
I think we all needed that jolt of good news when he released the rebranding of his number to number 2 in K-State football, pushed that out. And for everything we went through with the Naquan Tomlin situation, men's basketball, the drama there, Colin Klein leaving, it was a rough few days, as Curry is well aware, as the meltdown texts were coming through heavy to his phone from people like me. So
I never even told you guys until after the fact, but I was Wednesday, December 6th was my wife's induction day. And so we're sitting in the hospital, and we start getting panic calls about basketball at the same time that Colin Klein is leaving us for Texas A&M. And so my son will forever be tied to one of I don't know if you say one of the worst days, but one of the most disappointing or frustrating days in the history of K-State. And so going through the process of having a child while also dealing with the frustration of losing CK and the all the stuff surrounding Naquan Tomlin. So
yeah,
crazy stuff.
We felt very awful about that after Curry told us like 3 days later, oh yeah, my son was born on Wednesday, the day that we probably texted him 5,000 times.
Yeah,
and,
it was my way to blow off some nerves. So it was I don't know that it was good or bad, but it was all right.
I felt pretty bad about that, but we got through it. And hey, we just went through signing day as well. Kansas State signed 15 guys in this recruiting class. They've addressed some key holes, a couple JUCO players. They brought in a few transfers as well over the last couple weeks. Where maybe would you like to foresee them attack the heaviest now moving forward? They've still got several scholarship spots they can fill. Is there a position that you would like to see them attack the hardest moving forward for next year's team?
Yeah, I think receiver is key. I think first and foremost. I mean, I think you got Jaden, Keegan, and Jace coming back with Trey and some other guys waiting in the wings. But I think you have to go get another experienced guy or two, some proven guys, just to give Avery some different options and to build some depth. I think receiver is one. I think defensive tackle is a big one. Obviously, we signed Malcolm, and then we obviously are moving around with, we got Brennan Mott back, and we've got Jevin Banks maybe sliding to the outside. So we're going to be able to mix and match some pieces up front. Uso announced today that he's coming back. So we've got some key pieces up front, but I think you need one more depth guy at that defensive tackle spot to go with Uso and Damian and Asher. Again, just need some additional depth there. As we saw this season, that's a key spot in our defense. And if a couple guys go down, it can get thin quick. I think we need cornerback. I think we need to go get an experienced guy or two. Obviously we've got Keenan and Jacob coming back, but beyond that, there's not a lot of experience. So I think you need to, Justice James played a little bit this year, but we got some inexperienced guys that we're going to have to rely on. So we'd like to see a little bit of added depth there. Maybe another guy at safety, but after the additions the last 2 days of Jordan Riley and Dante Thomas, we may be okay. And then the other one I would say, and you mentioned it earlier, is just running back. I don't think we need a lot there, but I think we could use one more experienced guy because as it stands right now, we're going into next year with DJ and then with 3 freshmen and Devin Rice, John Price, and Joe Jackson. And so I think we need an experienced guy there for no other reason than to bring depth and experience.
It kind of reminds me of at the running back position when Deuce was a junior, in case they won the Big 12 title. DJ was a redshirt freshman, had a really good year. Obviously ran for around 550 yards, but that is not an ideal scenario. I mean, I would much rather have 3 capable veteran running backs. You don't want to have to rely, on a true freshman. Because right now, as they stand, if they were to play a third running back, it would in all likelihood be a true freshman next season between J.B. Price and Devon Rice out of Bishop Gorman, who, by the way, is a guy that I love watching his film. They need home run hitters, and he is a guy that brings that level of explosiveness to this program. So we'll see if he can be a guy that could play next year. I completely agree. This. I think they need a couple proven veteran wide receivers to come into the fold. They don't have to be stars. I mean, it would be great if they could get, one really, really good one and then a depth piece as well out of the transfer portal to go along with Keegan. Hopefully Keegan can be healthy. Jace builds on the year he had this year, and Trey Spivey, Jaden Jackson back. I think they can be okay there, but they have to get more weapons for Avery Johnson and supply him with everything that he needs because that's such an important piece. And, maybe the bowl game, Curry is if Avery Johnson goes and balls out, maybe that's something that draws the attention of some dudes that are still out there in the portal that are wide receivers. And they're like, I tell you what, I want to go play in this system. I want to play with this dude at quarterback.
I absolutely, and I think the same can be said for Connor Riley. I think there's probably some guys waiting out there to see what this offense looks like before they commit. As a receiver, obviously you're looking, you're looking for an opportunity to go catch balls, and I'm sure guys are wanting to see, okay, what kind of offensive coordinator is the offensive line coach going to be before I throw my hat in this ring. But absolutely, I think once guys, especially receivers, once they see what kind of dynamic passer of the ball that Avery is, it's going to help our recruiting immensely. I mean, you're going to have guys that are just itching to play with Avery Johnson because of his skill set. We've seen that, we've heard that some, but so far I don't know that it's made a huge difference in recruiting. But I think it will after the 28th.
It's going to be an exciting couple weeks. That transfer portal window will reopen up. I think the dead period ends on January 11th, so we're going through around a 3-week dead period now where guys can't take official visits. We get through the bowl games, and then there is an opening before the spring semester starts where you can get some more guys in on visits, and in all likelihood, there's still going to be guys available that are very talented that could maybe take visits in that first couple weekends of when that window reopens of recruiting. So eager to see that unfold. Hopefully Avery Johnson, this offense, balls out in the bowl game. Did want to ask you real quick, though, Curry, on the defensive side of the football, the defensive line was such a big point of emphasis. You mentioned adding a nose tackle potentially in that 3-man front would be important to do, and I completely agree. I think they could use a little more depth there. But as I do look at that defensive line, in my opinion, I feel like looking at that 3-3-5 front, that this defensive line is better suited with who they brought in and who redshirted this year with Jordan Allen, Cheedy, and then Travis Bates from Austin Peay, 6'3", 265, Malcolm Al Jones Crowder coming in, Alcorn Crowder coming in at 6'6", 295, that can play a little D tackle if you need in a pinch, but play D end, more prototypical size. Brendan Mott's going to try to put on 10 to 15 pounds, get to around 255. It feels to me, and let me know if you disagree, that this could be an improved defensive line and maybe more prototypical of what you want in that 3-man front.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think you're not going to have the true speed rusher. At least, I mean, Brendan Mott is probably your best true rusher at this point, but and I think Jordan Allen can be that as well. But absolutely, for the defense we're trying to play, we have, in just a month, that room is transformed. I mean, you went from having 3 or 4 undersized guys playing at the end spot on every snap to now Brendan Mott is probably going to be your smallest guy. And you're going to go from, so you're going to go from a bunch of 6'3", 245, 6'3", 230 to 250, 250 type guys to, being able to play an Alcorn Crowder at 300 pounds on one of the ends. A Cheedy who will probably weigh 270, 275 next year on one of the ends. Travis Bates, you mentioned, he'll probably be 270, 275 next year. Jevin Banks out there, probably 275, 280. You're going to have some real mass out there. And with Uso and Damian and some of these guys in the middle, that's going to be the kind of front that you have to have in a perfectly functioning 3-3-5. And as we saw this year, we have some really good blitzing linebackers with Austin Moore and Des Purnell and Jake Clifton. We have some guys who are great blitzers, and that's the best. That is the perfect way for a 3-3-5 to function, is for the 3 guys up front to just eat blocks and then to blitz guys from the second level. And so I think you'll see it make a huge difference in terms of how we defend the run and how we get after the quarterback, even though we may not have guys just winning on the edge.
Yeah, the pass rush may not be as elite. They've struggled some with the pass rush this year, especially the back half of the season. But I think the run defense will be improved because of that mass. And I think you're going to free up those linebackers, like you said, with that mass and size and physicality to run around and make plays. And they've got some dudes at linebacker. I mean, the significance of Austin Moore returning, which he announced on 3 Mall Live last week that you helped set up, Curry, along with Brendan Mott, which we're grateful for. And that was an awesome deal on Friday to put that good news out there. Des Purnell back. Jake Clifton, hopefully healthy and recovered from the knee injury that he had a few weeks ago. Asa Newsome, hopefully he'll be recovered given that injury happened so early in the season. We know he's a star waiting to be to shine through. I like the dudes. They got a linebacker, Romaine, etc.
Yeah.
So
Van Wy, Terry Kirksey's waiting in the wings. Yeah. Got some young, good young guys in this year's class. I think that's the best room on the team right now, the best and deepest room on the team right now. And as we saw this year, when we're playing 3 linebackers on every snap, we have to have good depth, and we will have really, really good depth next year.
And
so excited about that room.
I was going to say, and we saw the need to have good depth, just for an example, this year because of unfortunate injuries to Daniel Green, Jay Clifton, and Asa Newsome, 3 guys that were in your rotation playing. Yep. Hey, we will talk more about the 2024 season and look ahead after the bowl game against NC State. Curry and I'll do one more show probably, and then we'll take a few months off, and Curry can rest up, spend some time with the newborn, and hopefully we'll
try to raise some NIL money.
Raise some NIL money. Please go to catsnil.com. If you have questions, reach out to Curry, Pearson, etc. Look, we're going to be doing a basketball version of this show with Pearson McAtee. We're going to start that actually. I need to text Pearson as a reminder that we're going to start that probably the first week of January heading into Big 12 play. So we're going to do a basketball version of 3 Mall Bonus with Pearson, who's part of Wildcat NIL, former K-State men's basketball player as well. Just please go check them out. These guys are doing such incredible work, working so hard, and it's so incredibly important to these coaching staffs and to Kansas State. I just encourage everybody to do everything you can to support them. Every dollar does indeed matter. I know there's a perception that I can only give $10 a month. Is that really going to matter? If enough people do it, if enough of you do it, it will matter. It will be important, and it could play a part in K-State retaining a player that helps them win a Big 12 championship. So please go check them out, catsnil.com. Check them out on Twitter, @WildcatNIL. Check out all the great things they're doing. Reach out to any of us if you have questions. We'll get in touch with the right people. So appreciate you, Curry. We'll talk after the bowl game, and we'll look ahead, recap that, and look ahead to the 2024 season a little more in-depth based off what we saw in the Pop-Tarts Bowl against North Carolina State. Appreciate all of you for listening to the 3 Mall Bonus this year, and look for a K-State victory, hopefully, in the bowl game. And we're here to talk some good news here in about 10 days. Appreciate you all.